Now we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the stance. We've already gone over the grip. The grip is paramount to good, accurate, multiple shots on target. The stance is also just as paramount in the fact it gives you a stable platform from which you're going to go ahead and deliver your accurate shots. No matter how good your grip is, if the rest of the platform is weak and shaky, you're not going to be able to hold the gun on target and get those multiple shots, multiple accurate shots. So what we're going to do is first, as part of the grip, you also have, part of the stance is the elbows need to be locked out. In my book I refer to this as being locked out. You lock out your elbows. If your elbows are bent, even though you've got a good tight grip, a lot of times what happens is as the gun fires, there's a recoil. It forces the gun back, which causes your elbows to bend. Just like if they were shock absorbers on a car. So your first shot is going to be level and on target, but then the recoil is going to cause the gun to go this way, which means you're going to be above the target. You're going to have to bring it back down on target to pull the trigger for a second shot. So if you want multiple accurate shots, you need to find a way to keep the gun out there constantly without moving up and down, so it doesn't move up and down. The best way I've found to compensate for this is locking out your elbows. Okay? I stand straight square to the target, feet shoulder width apart. My upper body, I'm leaning forward into the target, into the recoil, because I want to fight it back just like a football player leaning forward to fight against the impact from the opposing player. I'm leaning forward from the waist up, feet shoulder width apart. I've got my arms fully extended, just like if I were doing a push-up or a bench press. I've got my arms straight out, elbows locked, so there's no recoil here, so there's no give with the recoil. I lean into it. Shoulders push forward again, just like I'm doing a push-up or a bench press, and I'm locking out. When I fire the weapon, the recoil has got to transverse down my arm, my shoulder, and push my entire upper body backwards. I have more upper body mass than the recoil of the gun can fight. I'm leaning into it. This allows me to fire bang, bang, bang on target, multiple shots to sweep right and left, to go to low extended ready, come up to extended ready to fire, come into low inside ready, punch your gun straight out to extended ready and fire. Another good point about the shoulder width stance, a lot of times they've taught in the past, take the boxer's stance so that you're braced against the recoil. This is a real good stance. If you're in a static position, that means you're going to stand at a certain position and compete. A lot of the competitions start at 5 feet, 10 feet, 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, 25 yards. And it'll be a square box that you stand in. So all your competition is static from one standing position. This position works very well for that. However, in a real life practical situation, you need mobility. If you can move, shoot, and be accurate, fire multiple shots on your assailant or assailants, then you become a very dangerous person because now you're mobile and lethal. Okay? A moving target is harder to hit, but if you're just as accurate on the move, it's an advantage for you because now you're harder to hit, but you're just as accurate when you're firing at them. So again, this stance is good for static, but when you're moving forward, it's hard to keep a nice level platform, to keep your weapon level. And if you're going to pivot to the left, it's difficult to pivot this way. It takes too much movement. If you pivot to the right, it's easy enough, but when you pivot to the left, it's too difficult. Plus, if you're this way, your peripheral vision is limited to right over here. Whereas here, if you're square to the target, your peripheral vision is out here. Plus, if I need to pivot to the left, pivot to the left. If I need to pivot to the right, I pivot to the right. Feet shoulder width apart allows me to move in smooth and level, allows me to move back, smooth and level. Again, stance, feet shoulder width apart, a little bent, upper body, leaning forward into the recoil, locked out, means your shoulders are locked out, your elbows are locked out. I've already talked about the good grip. Combine the good grip with locked out elbows, locked out shoulders, leaning forward into the recoil. Feet shoulder width apart. It'll allow you to achieve multiple accurate shots on multiple assailants quickly and efficiently. Another aspect of the stance and shooting on the move for tactical advantage, that I feel we have to go into is, as a general rule, you should never back up away from an assailant or a tactical situation. Again, as a general rule, because none of us have eyes in the back of our head, if we end up backing up, we can't see what's behind us. Could be if it's a police situation and there are some other police officers behind us, we're going to back up into them. Or if it's a personal situation and I push my wife and kids behind me to address a threat, now they're behind me. If I'm going back, I could lose my balance, fall over, cause them to fall, get injured there. Also, if you're going to go ahead and pivot right or pivot left, as a rule, again, you should never pivot backwards for the same reason. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You don't know who's behind you. In a residential situation, it's at night, you're backing up. You could trip over a chair or a table, cause yourself to fall, either injure yourself and surely not be able to address the threat that's coming at you. However, if I say never to go ahead and use it, then it's a tactic that you won't implement. If there's nothing behind you, if you know for a fact the situation occurs where you're on a public parking lot, there's plenty of room, and if you've got the opportunity to back up, it can be a strategic advantage for you, a strategic tactical advantage for you. The bad guy is going to try and cover the distance, called the reactionary gap, from him to you. If you're trying to draw your weapon and he sees it and he's going to make a rush on you, he believes he can get to you before you can draw your weapon. If he can, things are going to get real sticky real fast. However, if you know there's nothing behind you, you walked across a parking lot, you know there's nothing behind you, when he comes forward, as you're backing up, you start drawing your weapon. Now he's trying to close that gap between you and him, that reactionary gap, and the faster he can do it, the less time you have to grab your gun. But when you start using backward movement as a tactical advantage, you extend the gap that he's trying to close, which gives you more time to pull your weapon out, extend it so you can deal with the threat. You can either extend it full extension, extended ready, or go into one of the close quarter combat techniques to go ahead and fight off your assailant in close quarters. Again, just want to go ahead and emphasize the fact that backwards movement should be done in a very careful manner and only when you know there's nothing behind you. Also, the forward movement is good for the tactical advantage if you're forward moving aggressively towards your assailant. If it's a police situation and you're clearing a building, or it's your house late at night and you feel the need to go clear your building or go towards the threat to go ahead and eliminate it before it hurts you or your family, you need to go forward with a smooth tactical platform so you can go ahead and fire your weapon. Forward movement, backward movement, pivot. Always try and go forward with your pivot. Again, I wanted to key in on the tactical advantages of forward and backward movement and the limitations of backward movement.